This is the NTT IndyCar Series. With live coverage of today's qualifying, this is IndyCar Radio.
Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear on the streets of downtown Detroit. Mark Janes, the whole crew set to take you through qualifying. By the time these sessions are over, we will set the field for tomorrow's race. Davey Hamilton joins us now, and Davey, just like has been the norm throughout the course of this season, with the possible exception of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the oval. But what we know is what we don't know, I guess, going into this qualifying session. I mean, we have an idea who we think is fast, but time will tell. Huh?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, right off, the Andretti cars seem to be really strong, and they're always strong when it comes to street courses. They have something special for street courses, no different than this one here. They between Colton and Kirkwood, they find themselves on top of the speed chart, so keep an eye out for them for sure. Don't ever count out a Penske car. I think that Newgarden was up in there fighting around a little bit. As a matter of fact, McLaughlin looked good as well. But you know, I mean, it's open. Plo didn't run that good, actually, in practice. But I think what we'll find on these alternate tires, the cars are going to be faster. And I think that they're going to drop these times considerably. Some cars may be a little bit better on these softers than what we see in Andretti, but we'll have to wait and see.
Group number one, Scott McLaughlin, Callum Ilott, Felix Rosenquist, Christian Lundgaard, Marcus Ericsson, Alex Palou, Devlin DiFrancesco, Renus VK, Will Power, Kiffin Simpson, Santino Ferrucci, Marcus Armstrong, and Connor Daly. Ever-improving weather conditions, at least in terms of sunshine. Not sure it's warmed up much since we got here this morning. Let's get the specifics on that by welcoming in Nick Yeoman.
Appreciate that, Mark. Yeah, I wouldn't call it the Sahara Desert or a tropical island, but it is warming up, and most importantly, the sun's out, and it has warmed things up. Right now, the ambient temperature, 58 degrees. Track temperature is what we've really been watching over the last couple hours for Indy Next, their qualifying session that just wrapped up. It's now up to 85 degrees. It was down in the 60s this morning when we saw drivers in both series sliding around. So with 9 minutes left on the clock, Mark, conditions improving. 58 ambient, 85 track temperature for these drivers here in IndyCar qualifying.
10 turns this downtown street circuit, a little over 1.6 miles in length. Two of the best in the business going to paint the picture for you throughout the course of the weekend. Parking garages just over our shoulder above our booth. Little short straightaway into turn number one. It is a tight and unforgiving turn one. A good view of that. And up into turn two is Michael Young.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mark Janes. It is a tight turn indeed. Actually can see the entire front straightaway. The field will make their way off that pit lane and slowly join the rest of the field. But it's Franklin Street and then a left-hander of Rivard. That is a 90-degree left-hander. As we just saw, Christian Lundgaard nearly tap that inside retaining wall that we've seen so many drivers do. But a very quick run up into Jefferson. That's a left-hander, and then one of the longest straightaways we'll see in all of 2025, and the field will then come to the very view, or I should say the view of our very own Jake Query. A chilly day, Jake, here in Detroit.
It is indeed that, Michael, and you mentioned that long straightaway along Jefferson. Just when they seemingly probably are comfortable at speed with it, they got to get down through the throttle, because that left-hander that is turn number 3 that is just below me, technically it's on to Griswold. It is essentially a U-turn back on to Jefferson, and it is very, very tight. We have seen it turn this area of the racetrack in the past into nearly a parking lot, but everybody knows when they go in it that it is narrow. One of the other things that's always so interesting when we get here to Detroit, different paint schemes than what we've seen, new sponsors than what we've seen and become accustomed to throughout May at Indianapolis. So Alex Palou, though, in that so familiar DHL machine, is one of those that just went through turn number 3. He is followed by Will Power. Both of them very, very close. That tight line here. Turn number 3 back onto Jefferson.
And Davey Hamilton, after they cleared turn 3, set up for turn number 4, which is a tight right-hander. They go downhill a little bit and then take us from 5 all around to the final turn.
Yeah, really tight hander, right-hander in turn 4. It's like 5 cars wide going into it, but it only fits 1 going down into turn 4. As you go drop off down that hill in turn 5, same thing, 90-degree corner, very tight. And then 6, 7, kind of a little switchback, but as I say, single file through there. But as you come off that 7, bit of a straightaway to the timeline and turn 8, which we've seen a lot of runoffs.
So here we are at the 6-minute mark, and we've got a number of cars, Davey, running this session on the alternates because we didn't see them deploy any of that practice session.
Yeah, a little bit surprised on the theory here, yeah.
As a result, you've got Lundgaard, Palou, Ferrucci, Ilott, Simpson, and DiFrancesco, the fastest 6 for now. Power, Armstrong, Rosenquist, VK, they're on the primaries, along with Scott McLaughlin, Connor Daly on the alternates, currently 12th fastest.
Yeah, usually the only cars you see on alternates are the cars that are really struggling, Marcus, and what they do is try to just get in that fast 12. But it seems like everybody, well, not seems like everybody, but 6 of the cars out of the 13 are on that alternate. All 6 fast 6 right now are on that alternate. Penske's not. We got a picture of Will Power. He's on the primaries. Lundgaard just pulled in. He's switching from alternate to a fresh set of alternate, and I just think they're trying to get the balance of their car right. They know how important it is to start in front of this race. And McLaughlin, he's on the primaries too, has not switched to the alternates yet.
These cooler temperatures and the lack of grip, that phrase you use, balance of the race car. First of all, describe what that means and how that's something that's going to be the biggest challenge this weekend.
And I think that's one thing is with these primary tires, just getting heat in the tires is more difficult than normal because of the temperatures. But the alternates, it's going to, you don't need as much heat in them because they're already a softer tire. So I think that's the strategy that a lot of these guys are taking right now. And it takes a few extra laps to get heat in these things, no matter what compound it is, just to get that ideal time down. Now there's 5 minutes left, so these cars that just now put the alternates on, they got to hope their balance is right, because the ones that had them on the first round, they may have made a change as well as the new set of alternates.
Jake Query, long line of cars headed your way to turn 3.
As they work their way underneath the Chevrolet bridge, it is Alex Palou that will be the first of that long line of cars. Takes that left-hander, followed by the wait for just a second before it is Felix Rosenquist that goes through. So too Marcus Armstrong. Will Power is now into this area. And warming up, putting a little bit of heat in those tires is Kiffin Simpson. He then gets just a little bit loose off of turn number 3. So everybody may be spacing out just a little bit, trying to get a little bit of heat in those tires, different strategies going on. Mark, it won't be long before everybody will want to then space out and try to see exactly what kind of times they can get here in Detroit.
Lundgaard, Palou, Di Francesco, Santino Ferrucci, and Callum Eilot are the fast 6 for now. Speaking of Alex Palou, he heads back to turn 1. Michael Young.
Yes, and the rest of that crew just came out on those alternates as we see Alex Palou enter turn number 1. You can look right down into the cockpit of these cars, and as they make that left-hander, their right hand almost goes to 11 o'clock. So imagine turning that wheel with no power steering and getting that car to hustle around Alex Palou. Such a season he's had thus far. Jake Query, how is he doing down here in turn number 3?
One of the things for Alex Palou to keep in mind this weekend, with everything that came with being the winner of the Indianapolis 500, a lot less sim time trying to prepare for the streets of Detroit. But doesn't seem to be an issue right now. Might be an issue behind him. Marcus Armstrong got off the throttle just a little bit. His teammate Felix Rosenquist just behind him off turn number 3.
Joseph Newgarden will be the next headed to turn number 1. Scott McLaughlin, actually, we misidentified that. Scott McLaughlin currently 8th fastest, Michael Young.
Yes, and he will have a car right in front of him, Connor Daly. Connor will cautiously wait to blend into the track, so Scott McLaughlin able to get around him okay, but Scott hesitated ever so slightly as he looked to his right. Connor Daly very slow, but Scott able to clear him. He will have clean track in front of him. Connor Daly about 15 car lengths behind.
People may wonder why we make the point routinely about getting that distance, Michael, that you mentioned. It's because this is such a tight and narrow racetrack. As right now it is Scott McLaughlin in through turn number 3, waits, and then it's Daly, followed by Rinus VK. About 2.5 car lengths between all of them now as they work their way back up Jefferson.
Lundgaard, Palou, Di Francesco, Ferrucci, Eilot, and Simpson, the fast 6 for now. Erickson, McLaughlin, Power, Connor Daly, Marcus Armstrong, Rinus VK, Felix Rosenquist trying to get in, and Davey about that gap. We mentioned in our show earlier today, talking with Michael Crawford, the spotter for David Malukas. He said his primary goal on that top of that parking garage where Michael Young is to try to find his driver a nice gap to get a good qualifying run in.
Yeah, very key, and we're doing that. Looks like everybody's spread out properly right now. It should be nobody having to slow down in turns 5, 6, 7 to find that clean lap. We got the white flag out, which I think means that you're clear to go, I think. Or maybe that means they're slowing down, who knows. But right now we're on board with Will Power. Don't want to be in front of him slowing down, because he'll prove to you he'll use the chrome horn to move you out of the way.
Yeah, we have seen that throughout the course of this weekend, and that's garnered the majority of the headlines for sure. So it looks like the car of Felix Rosenquist is towing Will Power around the racetrack, headed back to Michael Young.
Yeah, Felix Rosenquist makes his way through 1. Alex Palou had a slight mistake, one of those rarities a little bit earlier as we saw him get crossed up in turn number 1, but now eyes back on Felix Rosenquist, and Will Power is right there. Not a big gap at all. all. I'll call that about 6 car lengths. So Felix has Will Power in his rearview mirrors.
It is safe to say that when Rosenqvist gets to turn number 3, he's thinking to himself, okay, just don't make a bobble here because Will Power is indeed right behind me. Power right on the rear wing. Rosenqvist got away just a little bit through turn number 3.
Scott McLaughlin, everybody on the alternates, by the way, Davey, with a minute to go. McLaughlin's gone to P1 with Ericsson, Lundgaard, Palou, Power, and Ferrucci giving chase.
How about Ferrucci just shooting his way up there right now? A little surprised. Power, it could be shaky on him. Rosenqvist is off the pace, right in front of him, holding him up. We're going to go hit the timeline right now.
And Will Power has been bumped out of 4 now. Now he goes back to P1 after he clears timing and scoring. So it's Power, McLaughlin, Ericsson, Simpson, Christian Lundgaard, and Alex Palou with less than 30 seconds remaining in the session.
Yeah, Rosenqvist fighting to get back up there. Ilott just jumps up to P4 with that Prima Racing team.
So Palou, Rosenqvist, Armstrong, Ferrucci, Di Francesco, Rinus VeeKay, Connor Daly, the ones with work to do, as it's Power, McLaughlin, Ericsson, Ilott, Simpson, and Christian Lundgaard. Davey, 10 seconds remaining in the session.
Yeah, as soon as they cross the timeline, that's it for them. I'm not used to seeing, or we are not used to seeing Palou not being in that fast 6. Now, he's green right now by 0.2 of a second to get in right there. VeeKay just shoots up to that 3rd spot. Palou now in 8th, Palou in 9th. Palou now in 10th. He has not crossed that line yet. Here he comes right now for that checkered flag. Will he get in? We'll soon see.
Alex Palou goes to P2.
Yeah, there you go.
And how many times has he done that throughout the course of this season in qualifying? Alex Palou gets to that checkered flag right as the time expires on the session and gets himself into the next round.
Yeah.
Just a couple of cars left to clear that timing and scoring loop. One of them is Scott McLaughlin, and Davey, he's already in great shape.
Yeah, he's already in great shape. And how about this? Rinus VeeKay, that 6th spot. New engineer, Michael Cannon over there, doing his car with that Del Quine Racing, finds himself in that 6th spot right now.
And the 28 car of Marcus Ericsson, he clears the checkered flag, and he does not move on. So here are the 6 drivers that do move on. Will Power, Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Armstrong, and Rinus VeeKay as the final couple of cars get ready to clear the timing and scoring loop, and they do. So on the outside looking in, Ericsson, Rosenqvist, Ilott, Simpson, Ferrucci, Di Francesco, and Ilott. And again, the 6 moving on: Will Power, Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Armstrong, and Rinus VeeKay. Round 2 coming up on the streets of Detroit.
This is INDYCAR Radio. Find out more at INDYCARradio.com.
Start your engines, race fans. At Advanced Auto Parts, our lineup of free services is like having your own local pit crew. Make Advanced your next pit stop, and we'll test your battery for free and install a new diehard battery.
Yeah, thank you. That's weird. I pressed the mute button for Indie Radio, and, well, it didn't mute. JT bringing you throughout the ad breaks of Indie Radio and possibly the Fast 6. We haven't worked it out behind the scenes yet, but Will Power, Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Armstrong, and Rinus VeeKay, your Group 1 advancers. From the lows of Indianapolis for Rinus VeeKay, well, he's into the Fast 12. Here, round the streets of Detroit. 2 completely different circuits, but good to see that he's bounced back after Indianapolis mentally as we look at the Verizon car of Will Power. And out in Group 2, Joseph Newgarden, David Malukas, Patro Ward, Nolan Siegel, Scott Dixon, Graham Rahal, Alexander Rossi, Christian Rasmussen, Colton Herter, Carl Kirkwood, Louis Foster, Jacob Abel, Stingray Robb, and Robert Schwartzman will be out in Segment 1, Group 2. Once again, the top 6 advance, and that will make the Fast 12. The top 6 from Group 1, the top 6 from Group 2, and then the top 6 of those 2 groups in the Fast 12. That will become the Firestone Fast 6. Same qualifying we have in British Touring Cars. Of course, British Touring Cars stole the qualifying format from INDYCAR. They even gave INDYCAR credit for the qualifying format they used. As we look at Colton Herter, who is currently on pit road getting ready to head out. Let's go back to Indie Radio.
109th Indy 500 is history, but you can relive every exciting moment with your own copy of our race broadcast. Go to INDYCARradio.com and search for historical Indy 500 broadcast. Download our radio broadcast and hear every second, including opening ceremonies, the exciting start at every lap to the checkered flag. Go to INDYCARradio.com to own a piece of Indy 500 history. Moving on, Will Power, Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Armstrong, and Renus VK. Round number 2 is coming up. It'll feature Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, Louis Foster, Christian Rasmussen, Graham Rahal, Scott Dixon, David Malukas, Joseph Newgarden, Robert Schwartzman, Alexander Rossi, Nolan Siegel, Pato O'Ward, Jacob Abel, and Stingray Robb. We wondered how long it would be before we started seeing the positive impact that Michael Cannon would have on Dale Corn Racing. But, Davey, to be fair, Renus VK has the top 5 and 3 top 10s on the season.
That's right. No, he's been running really good. I just think that maybe what that's going to bring over there with new engineering, and you got Mike Culver, you got Michael Cannon, 2 really good guys. I think they'll work good together. They just need some structure inside that team, I think, just to get consistency on the engineering. And by the way, Ed Nathman that was there and John Dick, great guys. I've known them for a long, long time. One of them engineered me for a while, but I just think these guys are a little more current, and I think it's going to help this team out.
Felix Rosenquist on the outside looking in, and Davey, that has not been the case most of this season in qualifying for Felix Rosenquist.
No, I'm pretty surprised with that. Matter of fact, with the alliance they have with Ganassi, it's surprising.
Let's hear from Callum Ilott.
Boy, I think it was less than 1/10 of a second, Callum. How do you quantify what that is on this racetrack?
I'm pretty annoyed. I didn't get the last lap in well. We had a chance to transfer and just didn't put it together. But yeah, it's so close, makes such a difference. I think I was 4th before that last lap, and yeah, everyone improved and I didn't.
I appreciate it. Callum Ilott, Prema, they've had a good weekend, shown some speed, but Mark going to have to come from mid-pack on Sunday.
Yeah, going to be on the outside looking in for the next couple of rounds for sure. So time to plan that final warm-up session and race strategy for Callum Ilott. Again, Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, Louis Foster, Christian Rasmussen, Graham Rahal, Scott Dixon, David Malukas, Joseph Newgarden, Robert Schwartzman, Alexander Rossi, Nolan Siegel, Pato O'Ward, Jacob Abel, and Stingray Robb. As Davey, we have plenty of blue skies and sunshine here.
We do. Not the heat yet, but it's blue skies. The sunshine is out. And I'll tell you, I think round 2 here is more difficult. We know Colton Herta is fast. Kyle Kirkwood, they were the fastest in the 2 practice sessions we had. Louis Foster, he was at the top of that for a long time. Christian Rasmussen, he was fast 6 yesterday. Graham Rahal found himself up top. How you ever count out Scott Dixon, David Malukas, Joseph Newgarden? I mean, this is a tough group right here.
Well, and 7 of the drivers doing something we don't normally see them do early on in the round, and that's starting on those alternate tires.
And Dixon chose to do that himself this time, and usually when you do that, it means you're in trouble, but I just think these sessions are getting so tough. And by the way, they are giving an extra set of alternate tires to everybody. It's 5 and 5 alternates, 5 primaries for the weekend. They could use them as they wish, and I think that this is just a strategy to try to make sure you're in that top 12.
Well, let's remember they went unused except for Robert Schwartzman in that morning practice session.
That's right. So he may have a session, he may use yesterday's used ones as well. I'm not exactly sure. But Rossi, the first one by with those alternates on.
And speaking of Alexander Rossi, he clears the start-finish line and heads towards Michael Young.
He just made that right-hander onto Franklin, and we'll see the machine of Graham Rahal in front of him. And Graham really not up to speed, so Rossi may catch him down that long run down Jefferson. Good-looking exit out of turn number 2 for Alexander Rossi. After a forgettable month of May, Rossi makes his way down Jefferson again in tow of Graham Rahal.
And between the Indy Next and the first session of this qualifying group, this might be the first group of cars that comes upon wind in turn number 3. Doesn't affect Graham Rahal nor Alexander Rossi. Rossi sounded like he was going through those rev limiters a little bit as he worked his way in through turn number 3, followed by Pato O'Ward. We'll look to see one more car that comes through here. It is Colton Herta. He swings it just a little more wide at the apex of 3.
Early into the Indy 500 for Alexander Rossi, a former winner. Davey, very animated, threw the gloves off, was very frustrated by the mechanical gremlins that ended his day because he had a fast race car.
Yeah, he sure did. It was fast. Matter of fact, a little surprising, the ECR had 3 cars running first, second, and third at one point. Not surprising. It's a great race team. But the surprising part for me, being the strategist of that race, they were all on the same strategy, which kind of surprised me. You'd think 3 cars, split them up, but Yeah, unfortunately, a bad day for Rossi just because of the fire.
Colton Hurd has been fast all day. Will he stay fast, Michael Young?
Well, he's got Pato O'Ward ahead of him to gauge, and he has closed that ground each and every time they've come by in these couple of opening laps. Right side's right near that outside retaining wall as he makes that left-hander down Jefferson. But for Colton Hurd, he is always fast on these road and street circuits, and looks like he's fast again this weekend.
Speaking of the Indianapolis 500 and the different strategies that Davey Hamilton had talked about, seemed like in this qualifying group, it's basically two groups, two packs. Colton Hurd right now getting distance just a little bit from Joseph Newgarden. This is one of those groups on one end of the track. Then you've got the other half, essentially, other end of the track. It is Scott Dixon now working his way through. He keeps a much tighter line, Mark, through turn number 3 than did those that went just before him.
Rookie Louis Foster, as Nick Yeoman detailed, a winner here a year ago, finds this course to his liking, Davey. The 45 machine has gone to P1 in this session.
Yeah, and he was P1 in an earlier session, and right at the end lost that, but always been fast his entire weekend. Graham caught up to him. His teammates were actually pretty fast out of that Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan team.
So we've got Louis Foster, Scott Dixon, Pato O'Ward, Alexander Rossi, and Joseph Newgarden. Speaking of the PNC Bank machine, Michael Young, you'll get a good view of him momentarily.
Interesting enough that he is on the alternates to start this round of qualifying. Scott Dixon, the defending race winner here on the streets of Detroit, as he gets into the throttle, the back end steps out, lost grip ever so slightly. Again, very windy in this portion of the course. Of course, we're 9 floors up, but it is a windy day here on the streets of Detroit. But Dixon looking good down Jefferson.
When you set up off of Jefferson to take that lefty of Griswold that U-turns you back onto Jefferson, you can swing just a little bit wide. Colton Hurd did that, almost touched that outside retaining wall, but everybody then works their way through on a much tighter line. Christian Rasmussen just went by. 2 cars now at full throttle. That would be Kyle Kirkwood, followed by Jacob Abel as they work their way now through this area.
That aforementioned Christian Rasmussen having a good run. He's gone to P1 with a time of 61.3891. Graham Rahal jumps up to second fastest. Then Louis Foster. Now Scott Dixon P2. So it's Rasmussen, Dixon, Rahal, Foster, O'Ward, and Newgarden to pit lane, and Nick Yeoman.
And starting to see some changeover here. Don't usually see drivers go from greens to greens, but that is going to be the case. The alternates going back on a fresh set for Pato O'Ward. Looks like Colton Hurd across the way going to implement a similar strategy. Robert Schwartzman just left pit lane. He's gone on to a fresh set of alternates. So, Mark, time to see some fast laps on those alternate tires.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's essentially the intermission, if you will, the halfway point of this session. And that explains why pit lane is such a very busy place. And it's Christian Rasmussen, David Malukas, Scott Dixon, Graham Rahal, Louis Foster, Pato O'Ward trying to get into the round of 12. Kyle Kirkwood, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, Colton Hurd, Stingray Robb, Jacob Abel, Robert Schwartzman, Nolan Siegel. Going to be interesting to see what the second half holds for Kyle Kirkwood since he's been fastest most of the weekend.
I expect him to gain some speed here, him and Colton both. And we're actually Nolan Siegel down in pit lane, something you don't normally see, but they had the engine counting off that car. Look like there's some sort of problem in the engine compartment, so his qualifying day may be almost over.
Well, because he only turned 2 laps in that session.
Something's going on there for sure.
Oh, boy, some close quarters racing between Louis Foster and Jacob Abel and Graham Rahal, the wise one. He was pitted on the left side of pit lane, and he said, yeah, I'm going to stay out of that.
Yeah, I know. That was down pit lane. That's how tight it is. Still, even though it's double wide, it's very tight each lane, and you can't cross over that center line, and they're trying to make the best of it right now. It's Louis Foster, first one into turn 3.
One of the feel-good stories of the month of May, Michael Young. How about a rookie team and a rookie pole sitter, Robert Schwartzman? He works his way toward turn number 1.
Indeed, but he has had his struggles thus far here on the streets of Detroit, but you've got to feel for this team and this kid and what they have been up against. You hear him bleep the throttle ever so slightly as Kyle Kirkwood blends onto the track. Pato O'Ward will get around him, but for Robert Schwartzman to be able to get the pole for his not only very first oval, but his first Indianapolis 500 as well, one of the best stories of the month of May.
Of course, you heard his teammate Callum Eilert say that he thought maybe they left a little more speed in his qualifying circuit. We'll see about for Robert Schwartzman as he works his way. Tight line, very, very low, down into the exit of turn number 3 for Robert Schwartzman.
Louis Foster's time at the end of this session, Davey, somewhat limited, going too fast to that pit lane.
One good thing is shortest pit lane that we have. So when they're drive-throughs, it's a minimal penalty because it's way short because it's double wide.
2 minutes, 50 seconds remaining in this session. It's Rasmussen, Malukas, Dixon, Rahal, Rahal, Foster, and Award. As we mentioned, Kirkwood still trying to get in, but everybody's on the alternates, including Newgarden, Rossi, Herta, and others.
Yeah, that's right. They have a long ways to go, I think. Well, not really. Rasmus is a 1:01.24, where Will Power was a 1:98, so not far off of first group's pace, so they're getting after it right now for sure.
So Kyle Kirkwood trying to get in, joining Rasmussen, Malukas, Dixon, Rahal, Foster, and Award. Those are your fast six. On the outside, Kirkwood, Newgarden, Rossi, Herta, Stingray, Robb, Jacob Abel, Schwartzman, and Siegel. They are trying to join in the round of 12. Will Power, Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Armstrong, and Renus VK. Joseph Newgarden heads back to Michael Young in turn 1.
Yeah, bright red and white car as he makes his way through turn number 1. Really smooth through there. Didn't see a lot of hand movement in the cockpit of that car as he makes a left-hander. Now exiting turn number 2. Smooth exit for Joseph as well. And the fact that he has to get out of turn number 2, get a good run. Jake, that you carry speed down into turn number 3, you can make up a lot of ground.
That race car is very, very cool looking. Talking about the cherry red and white of Joseph Newgarden. And then it's David Malukas, the blue and white machine. Rear end stepped out just a little bit on David Malukas through turn number 3. He's followed by Colton Herta.
Nick Yeoman, a bit of head scratching going on in the pit box of Nolan Siegel.
Yeah, a frustrated bunch of folks down there in Arrow McLaren trying to work on the rear of Nolan Siegel's car. They say it's engine related, but they cannot diagnose what it is. And unfortunately, Mark, we're down to just over a minute to go. Siegel has yet to turn a lap at speed.
Minute to go. Scott Dixon head towards turn 1, and Michael, he's currently P3.
Boy, he looked good exiting that final turn, turn number 9, left side, right up against that concrete wall, and enters turn number 1. You can hear him back in the throttle. That PNC Bank Honda for Chip Ganassi Racing. Scott Dixon entering turn number 3. He'll be down halfway down that back straightaway. Good looking line and a good looking lap for Scott Dixon this time through.
He now knows that the benchmark is David Malukas, as he has now gone to P1 of this session inside of a final minute. Scott Dixon works his way. Boy, he really looks like that car is just glued to the track down at the bottom. Newgarden keeps the same line, and then the aforementioned David Malukas through turn number 3.
Carrying a little momentum that they picked up at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, David Malukas and AJ Foyt Racing.
Yeah, no question about it. What a good job that team's done. Obviously, they have an alliance with Penske, but he's really stepped up, second into 500, calm and cool. And matter of fact, we see Joseph Newgarden, a little bit of an issue there. I'm not sure if he has a flat left rear tire, but he has a tire coming off the ground, going very slow off of turn 7, go down into turn 8. Looks like he's going to be in the pit lane.
This has just been a disastrous year, all in all, for Joseph Newgarden.
Yeah, the checker's out, so he's done. And there's definitely an issue with that car. It's Rahal. He gets the checker. Does he find him? No, he is not in that top. Oh, he is second, by the way. He had a good lap.
So Graham Rahal with a late charge, Colton Herta with a late charge, David Malukas with a late charge. Just seconds ago, to give you an idea how quickly fortunes can change, David Malukas was P1 a few moments ago, and he has now fallen to 3rd. Louis Foster 4th. Christian Rasmussen is 5th. Still waiting for all the cars to clear that timing and scoring loop, and one of them is the car of Kyle Kirkwood, who's been awfully fast all weekend long, and he clears it now. What did Kyle Kirkwood do?
He should go up. It shows him as a gain. We'll see what happens right here as he crosses it.
He gets the 5th fastest at boot. Scott Dixon outside of the fastest 6.
And Scott just gets back in, pushes it back in. Yes.
Just that quick. Scott Dixon was in, he was out. The last car across the line, and he gets back in. And that's bad news for Louis Foster and Alexander Rossi.
And look at the time. Foster turned to 1:02:08. And 1:01:208. Dixon was a 1:01:200. I mean, that close of getting in or out.
So Colton Herta, Graham Rahal, David Malukas, Christian Rasmussen, Kyle Kirkwood, and Scott Dixon join Will Power, Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Armstrong, and Renus VK as qualifying continues for the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear.
This is IndyCar Radio. Find us on the IndyCar app powered by NTT.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you to IndyCar Radio once again taking you through that session at Detroit, getting ready for the Fast 12. And that will be underway in a matter of moments. Drama for Joseph Newgarden, who will not be through. He is 12th, and that is very low indeed. After everything that has happened at Indianapolis and now everything here at Detroit. Reminder, you can join us for IMSA a little bit later on. a 100-minute race round the streets of Detroit for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. That will be IMSA Radio Le Mans taking you through that. And then after that, it's the NASCAR Xfinity Series, which is at Nashville Super Speedway. That will be myself and Seth Eves from USRN, the Ultimate Sports Radio Network, on that call with a dual broadcast. As we look down from the helicopter on the streets of Detroit, of course, the headquarters of Chevrolet in the middle of this circuit. Big weekend for Chevrolet here. There's a massive bulk carrier tanker, oil tanker thing goes down the waterway and the river that goes through Detroit. As we look at the drivers in the Fast 12, it's Will Power, Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Armstrong, Rinus VeeKay, Colton Herta, Graham Rahal, David Malukas, Christian Rasmussen, Carl Kirkwood and Scott Dixon. Let's go back to Indy Radio in good timing because dog is deciding to bark.
On Saturday. Then listen to live flag-to-flag coverage of the race Sunday at 7:30 Eastern on radio stations nationwide. How about under the lights at Worldwide Technology Raceway, Davey?
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, that race is always something very, very tricky oval, like we talked about before. You can shift down 2, sometimes 3 gears going down into turn 1, really tight down in turn 1 and 2. Then you get down into 3 and 4, and it's wide open through there. So such a different 1.25 mile track. They do such a great job promote that event. It's going to be under the lights, which is always fun because they have a great fireworks show. As a matter of fact, it scares the crap out of you sometimes.
It does. You better be ready for it, for sure.
And, but anyway, it's going to be exciting.
Joseph Newgarden does not move on, Davey, and it's not been a memorable season for the two-time Indy 500 champion. 13th in points, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, and 2 laps led.
Yeah, he actually hit the wall. I've seen a replay, and that he was fast enough, I think, to get into this fast 6, but coming off a turn, I think turn 4, got that left rear into the wall, and bent the suspension. Obviously, he slowed down, had nothing left. That was his last lap, last try, so puts him down in that 12th spot.
Got a couple of teammates that are in the round of 12 vying for a spot in the fast 6. It's Power, Palou, Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Armstrong, Rinus VeeKay, Colton Herta, Graham Rahal, David Malukas, Christian Rasmussen, Kyle Kirkwood, and Scott Dixon. And it appears as though, Davey, that it doesn't matter where we are in Detroit, be it Belle Isle or be it on the streets of downtown Detroit. Graham Rahal, all in all, is a pretty happy guy. I mean, 19 starts at Belle Isle. You remember back in 2017, he swept the weekend.
Yeah.
Had 13 top 10s and 6 top 5s there.
Yeah, great job. Graham, when he's on all weekend. He's been slower than his teammates, kind of down in the charts, not knowing where he's going to be. But Graham, when it comes time to laying it down, when it counts, he does it, finds himself in this fast 12 right now. We continue to say, as he qualifies better, he's going to have a way better shot at winning some more races.
Let's go to Joel.
Alexander Rossi qualifying 16th and having just a word with his engineer for just a second. Alexander, what's your takeaway from this qualifying session?
I don't have one yet. We're looking at it. Yeah, I mean, we weren't quick enough.
This race has had a tendency to be so unpredictable once they've moved it downtown. When you start mid-pack, do you welcome a race like that?
I don't know if welcome is the right word. I mean, obviously, it opens up strategy options when there's chaos, but I don't think that's a good show either. So the trend this year has been pretty green, so we'll see what it brings. We can't control that.
We'll see what happens, and we wish you the best of luck starting 16th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. Appreciate that. The insight from Alexander Rossi. So, again, the round of 12 will feature Will Power, Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Armstrong, Rinus VeeKay, Colton Herta, Graham Rahal, David Malukas, Christian Rasmussen, Kyle Kirkwood, and Scott Dixon. Alex Palou, I won't say he's a surprise competitor in the round of 12, Davey, but, I mean, he's not had, he wasn't at the top of timing and scoring most of the weekend.
Yeah, they showed him struggling. I mean, not showed. I mean, we seen that he was struggling. They talked to him, said, hey, it's never that easy, and just could not get something together. And all of a sudden, he throws that lap down, P2 in that group, in that first group, finds himself in the top 12 in really good shape, and that's Alex Palou-like. He does it when he has to get it done. Never, ever count him out. I expect him to go into that fast 6, but you have 12 fast guys right now that he has to beat 6 of them to do that.
I know the wind has not died down, and that always kind of prevents that track from heating up as much as you would like it to, especially on a cool day like this where the ambient temperature is still 58 degrees. But a little bit of sunshine doesn't hurt, and with the laps that are being turned, I would imagine the grip level continues to inch up just a little bit.
Yeah, so as that sun is directly on the racetrack, it heats that track up, which a lot of times you don't want because it's too hot. But right now in this situation, you're trying to get that track temp up to help your tire temperature as well. So much needed right now, no question about it. Ambient temp is still low, but it does make your motors run good. It does give you a little more downforce. But right now, it's all about getting that tire heat in these cars and trying to lay down that perfect lap.
Places like Barber and the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and maybe even Long Beach, getting into the round of 12 is satisfactory. But I think when you've got a place as tight and as unforgiving as this one, I mean, that you really want to get into the round of 6.
Yeah, no, you do. This is so different. This is the most challenging track I'd have to say that we go to. It's the shortest for sure. It's the bumpiest by far. It's very difficult to pass here, so starting towards the front is a huge advantage. And it's so easy to make mistakes, as we see time and time again, just barely touching walls or hitting the inside wall and throwing you outside or going in the runoff area. So very, very challenging.
Louis Foster's got to be a little frustrated. He was 7th fastest in that session. He had been among the front runners all weekend.
Yeah, and you know, it doesn't sound bad, 7th quickest in that session, but you know what? That puts you in that 7th row, basically. I mean, he's going to be back there a ways and you know, starting 14th, basically.
So, Will Power, Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Armstrong, and Rinus VeeKay, the Fast 6. Colton Herta, Graham Rahal, David Malukas, Christian Rasmussen, Kyle Kirkwood, and Scott Dixon. Who do you like out of those 12 to get into the round of 6?
Wow, let me see here. You know, I think Will Power, he seems to be on a little bit of a roll. I think Palou is going to get into this thing. I feel good about him. I think both of the Andretti cars with Kirkwood and Colton will get into this thing. David Malukas, I think he has what it takes to be a top 6, and I think a Penske car is going to sneak in there with McLaughlin.
Will Power was runner-up here in 2023 and finished 6th last year. On Belle Isle, he has a pretty solid record there, too. 3 wins, a pole, 13 top 10s, and 9 top 5s for Will Power on Belle Isle.
Yeah, no, it ran good there. Matter of fact, I seen a picture of him last night riding the Lion. I think it's down there in the fountain in Belle Isle, whatever it was, and in the water. And, you know, so he's definitely won down there. He's won a lot of racetracks. Obviously, all-time pole sitter for our series. He can get it done. And I just feel like this weekend, even though there's been a little controversy, it's been a lot of fun controversy. We've been laughing, been getting a lot of media for our sport on it, and I love it. And I think that he seems to have some speed going right now. We'll see if he can pull it off and get in that fast 6.
It is amazing when you think about it that the history of the IndyCar series in one form or another on the streets of Detroit and Detroit as a whole, I mean, my gosh, goes all the way back to 1989.
Yeah, when you told me that yesterday, Mark, I was blown away. 35. This is the 35th running of a race here in Detroit, and that just tells you what great race fans are up here. You know, we went to Michigan for years and years.
Yeah.
We know that you know, the Michigan fans, they're motorsports people, but you know, when you bring it to their downtown and it's so easy to get to, and there's so many people, it's so populated in this area, they can just walk here. They got great opportunity, you know, trams and buses, and they've done everything they could to get the fan here on the easiest way possible. And they set a course up right in the streets of Detroit. Like I say, it's the most challenging. It's the shortest. It's going to be fun for these fans to watch.
And, you know, early on, some of the greats of all time won here. Emerson Fittipaldi, Michael Andretti, Greg Moore won here. Alex Zanardi was a winner here. Dario Franchitti. Elio went back-to-back on an occasion. Sebastian Bourdais. We talked about Graham Rahal doing this. But a couple of unlikely winners that we remember well, too, is Carlos Munoz and Mike Conway. He's got wins on him.
Yeah, don't forget Simon Pagenaud.
That's right.
When his car owner.
Yeah, but he won a few. He won a few outside of this.
Yeah, outside of that. But that one there was our first, and that was our first doubleheader, if you recall. And as a co-car owner with Sam, they said they're going to do this doubleheader, and I went in there and I was really kind of against it because we just had a small team, didn't know if we can get the cars turned around fast enough, and if we had problems. And I thought, man, I don't know if we can pull this off. We're just a small team. And then we win the second race. I said, I think we're good with that doubleheader. So
well, here's a trivia question you probably wouldn't get. Can you tell me what the podium was for that race?
So, let me think about this. I think Simon.
I'll be impressed if you get this.
Let me see here. Let me think. I think Simon, and I think maybe Power. Was Power on there?
No, Simon Pagenaud, James Jakes, and Mike Conway was
James Jakes and Conway.
Yeah,
okay, there you go.
So the 7th car gets a drive-through penalty for bringing out a yellow. So this round is underway. And Christian Rasmussen has set the fast time early on. And again, everybody on the alternates to start the session.
That's right. And one thing, as we mentioned, a drive-through here is much easier than a drive-through at most places because it's such a short pit lane because it's double-sided. But Lugard just paid that penalty. Pulls out of the pits right now. Looks like maybe right in front of Pelot. No, it was Malukas. Yeah, there you go.
So David Malukas is able to clear him and it continue on, and both of those drivers are going to continue on at speed. Let's pick up Scott McLaughlin. He's looking to get into the Firestone Fast 6, Michael Young.
Makes that right-hander as he makes his way down Franklin. I counted it, Davey, when you talked about a tough circuit. I see at least 6 to 7 manhole covers in the racer line. So you talk about bumps, you talk about potholes. It will take its toll on a driver as Scott McLaughlin makes his way down Jefferson with a very quick and a very successful Indianapolis 500 winner and 5-time winner this year, Alex Pelot, right behind him.
Moving west on Jefferson, and then shortly thereafter will basically do the U-turn. That's exactly what Scott McLaughlin does. Now heads in the opposite direction. Does so with Alex Pelot behind him, and does so under a very, very now clear and gorgeous blue sky with sunshine and still a breezy Detroit.
So here we are, 7 minutes to go in the session. Everybody's cleared that timing and scoring loop one time. It's Pelot, Herta, Malukas, Ray Hall, VK, and McLaughlin trying to catch up. Marcus Armstrong, Will Power, Christian Rasmussen, Kyle Kirkwood, Scott Dixon, and Christian Lundgaard. And Davey, we expect around the 4.5-minute mark to see activity pick up on pit lane.
I think with they went on their alternate tires, but there's some news was that they use either the first part of the round one or the second part of round one. They'll come in for a fresh set to fight their way to get in. Matter of fact, we got McLaughlin coming in right now, jacking that car up, and I'm going to put a fresh set of the alternates on.
Watching Kyle Kirkwood continue to turn laps. We also see Will Power turning laps out on the course. Colton Herta has just gone to P1. His teammate Kyle Kirkwood slots in behind him. So it's Herta, Kirkwood, Pelot, Rasmussen, Will Power, Scott McLaughlin at the 6-minute mark. Trying to get in. Let's see. Alex Pelot, Christian Rasmussen, and Power. It continues to turn over as we've reached the 6-minute mark, and speeds continue to increase. Power, McLaughlin, Armstrong, Dixon, VK, and Ray Hall trying to get in, but again, activity picking up on the pit lane, so we expect speeds to continue to climb.
Yeah, Ray Hall, he's going to come and get some stickers on. I was a little surprised that Colton Herta and Kirkwood, they're still on that scuff set of alternate tires and still ran times like that, so that's pretty darn impressive. They don't have new ones on yet. I expect them to come in with just a little over 5 minutes left.
And we see Will Power coming off of that final turn, and it looks like he's going to duck onto the pit lane for service, so it looks like the 27 car of Kyle Kirkwood will have this race course all to himself, and he clears that timing and scoring loop, and he is currently third fastest, and Kyle Kirkwood going to go to pit lane. So right now, Davey, that track is quiet with 5 minutes to go in the session.
Yeah, they just dropped Will Power, got a fresh set of sticker alternate tires. Off he goes. He'll be the first one on track. Just hope he has some clean tracks. All he's looking for. Pelot is going to beat him out, actually, just right in front of Will Power. So with 5 minutes exactly left, they're coming out on the sticker tires.
Michael Young, how about the roll call out of the pit lane exit?
Pelot, Power, then we have Marcus Armstrong, Christian Rasmussen. They are the 4 that have made it out thus far, as we now see the number 3 is Scott McLaughlin, Scott Dixon. So 6 of the 12 working their way around Jefferson in the back half of the course.
Been counted up and down season for Marcus Armstrong, Davey. Happy to see him in the round of 12. He's had a couple of top 10s and led 16 laps this year.
And I think he's going to continue doing well. I mean, he shows a lot of confidence. I think he's found a seat that he really likes. He's going to be there a while. And right now, it's just another win if he just gets in that top 6.
I think, obviously, that technical alliance that Myers-Shank Racing has developed with Ganassi Racing has paid huge dividends for that team, and it's been really fun to watch the growth and progress of that Myers-Shank race team. I mean, they started out that technical alliance with Andretti and just recently shifted it over to Ganassi for this season. It's paying off well for everyone involved. Speed ought to start to pick up. Michael Young, Alex Palou will be the first one that pops into your view.
And nothing worse than seeing a fast Alex Palou with a lot of clean racetrack in front of him. Sets up for turn number 1. Palou looks good. That was probably the cleanest time I've seen him through turn number 1 thus far. Willpower about a half of a straightaway behind him. Marcus Armstrong now makes that left-hander as well. But for Alex Palou, we'll call that at least a second or two ahead of Willpower as they make their way to 3.
And a very good point about Alex Palou, Michael, because indeed, when he came out, he had nothing but open track ahead of him. That is still the case. Palou now keeps it low through turn number 3. Rear end stepped out, excuse me, just a little bit. Willpower through that area as well. There is a manhole cover that is emitting an awful lot of steam right into the view of these drivers. Christian Rasmussen just went through it.
Colton Herta, and then I believe his teammate Kyle Kirkwood your way next, Michael Young.
Colton Herta will make his way through turn number 1. He has Christian Lundgaard now making the left-hander onto Jefferson. There goes Colton through turn number 1. His teammate Kyle Kirkwood right behind with that Siemens AWS sponsorship on that car. Rinus VeeKay makes their way through this portion of the track as well, but a good-looking lap for both of those Andretti cars.
This is an area of the racetrack where Colton Herta seems to go in with a little bit more aggression than do the other cars. We'll see what he does this time. This time he dives down for that left-handed turn that is turn 3, kind of carves off, if you will, the sharp nature in which you have to make that turn. Then Kirkwood goes through, so too now Rinus VeeKay.
2.5 minute mark, Davey. Colton Herta, Malukas, Kirkwood, Lundgaard, Graham Rahal, that Alex Palou, the fast 6.
And right now, nobody behind them showing any improvement at this point, which includes Rasmussen, Power, McLaughlin, Armstrong, Dixon, and VeeKay. No, not faster this lap, but they'll have another chance to get another lap in.
And the clock shows that there's 2 minutes remaining in the session. So it's Herta, Malukas, Kirkwood, Lundgaard, Graham Rahal, and Alex Palou. And trying to get in, Christian Rasmussen, Will Power, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Armstrong, Dixon, and VeeKay. It's always fascinating to me, Davey, to see the razor-thin margin between the 6th fastest car and the 7th fastest car.
Yeah, that's right. And right now, Power and McLaughlin. Ooh, Power barely showing that he's going to snap into it. McLaughlin by a half a second. But, yeah, it goes up to that 3rd spot right there, knocks Palou into 7th. But now you see these cars below. They show speed as they cross the line. Dixon, we'll see here he ends up. No, he does not. He stays in that 11th position right now. Well, as they cross the line, it's going to change rapidly.
But he stays on it, Michael Young. The PNC Bank machine heads your way.
Well, you can hear the wind in the microphone. Windy up here, but that concrete canyon below me. You hear Scott Dixon working. Turn number 1, now turn number 2. Dixon, a little struggle there, had a bit of an understeer as he exited turn number 2, but clean and green, making its way down that back straightaway, Jefferson Boulevard.
And he knows, does Scott Dixon, presumably, that he is inside now of the final minute in this particular session, trying to get into that fast 6, car number 9, that PNC Bank machine. Very, very good line. David Malukas as well. No issues for either. Same can be said for Graham Rahal. Maybe Rahal a little bit more loose at the exit of 3.
Alex Palou with the late charge. He got himself into the round of 6, at least for now. Davey, he's currently 4th fastest.
Yeah, that's right. Good run for Palou. McLaughlin shoots 1st, Power 2nd. How about that? Those 2 Penske cars. Malukas, Palou, Herta, Lundgaard, Dixon not looking like he's going to make it in, but Kirkwood, Rahal shows some speed. There's Rahal, P2 right now.
Let's pick up Scott Dixon one more time, Michael Young.
Oh, he locks him up going down into turn number 1. Really had to woe that car down to make the turn, so that might ruin any chance for Scott Dixon to get a good lap as he has Rinus VeeKay all around the rear wing of that car. Also, Graham Rahal making his way through this portion of the course. Those 3 cars look to be the last to see if they can make their way into the fast 6.
We'll wait for them here in turn number 3 and call them as they arrive. It is the first who's just a little bit loose, David Malukas. Then it's Scott Dixon behind him. Dixon had to get out just a little bit through turn number 3. You wait just a second, then Graham Rahal clears the area.
And again, Alex Below gets in under the gun, but there are a couple of cars that need to clear that timing and scoring loop. We will see if they're able to work their way into the Fast 6, and it doesn't look as though the first couple that came across were able to do it. Doesn't look like Scott McLaughlin's going to get in. David Malukas does nothing more than solidify his spot, and it doesn't look like Scott Dixon is going to improve his position, and Graham Rahal is going to barely sneak in, it looks like, Davey.
So it looks like it's set. Herta, Kirkwood, the two Andretti cars, been fast all weekend. Malukas, Lundgaard, Below, Rahal out. VK in that 7th spot again. Great run by them.
So again, your Fast 6, Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, David Malukas, Christian Lundgaard, Alex Below, and Graham Rahal not getting in. Renus VK 7th, 8th Scott McLaughlin, 9th Will Power, 10th Scott Dixon, 11th Marcus Armstrong, and 12th Christian Rasmussen. Let's go to Nick Yeoman.
And of course, Mark, this is the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix, and I'm excited to be joined by Jim Campbell, head of performance and motorsports for GM. I would ask you if this is a big weekend, but really all I have to do is look up and see the GM headquarters. Which one's your office up there, Jim?
Yeah, that's right. It's around the corner, but it's great to have everybody here coming from Indianapolis 500 here to Detroit. We're so proud to welcome everybody. For us, the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix is a big deal. We feature, obviously, our Chevrolet powertrains here in the INDYCAR series, and then we've got some sister brands at Cadillac that will run an IMSA later today. But it's great to have everybody here. The energy in the city for this race is incredible. Used to be on Belle Isle, now we're back to the city streets of Detroit. 1.7 mile, 9 turns. So we got a couple in the Fast 6 here. We're going to have to see if we can't get up to the pole.
You talk about the energy. I mean, it's palpable. You can feel it here, year number 3 of it being downtown. How big is this event for General Motors to have it in the shadows of the headquarters?
It's big. You know, from Mary Barr to Mark Royce, our CEO and our president, all of our leaders are here. All of our partners in the manufacturing business are here. All of our suppliers. And so many employees are here cheering on Chevrolet and our sister brand Cadillac later today. So we couldn't be prouder to be here, and we got so much activity on the track, but also off the track. We got a massive Chevy display over in Spirit Plaza. Cadillac's got a display over in Hart Plaza, so you can see what's new from Chevrolet and Cadillac.
Looks like you got a couple young guns in Christian Lundgaard and David Malukas to keep an eye on here in the Fast 6.
Boy, talented young drivers. So proud of them, and we've got in the field, we have 14 of the 27 are Chevrolet powered, so it's going to be an exciting race, and I can't wait to see where we end up here in the Fast 6.
Jim, enjoy the weekend, the IMSA race, and of course the IndyCar race tomorrow. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
That's Jim Campbell.
Yeah, we enjoy our relationship with Jim Campbell and Mark Royce, and the time we spend with him at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway each and every year. And this is obviously a big event for them. Big event for all of us, in fact. The Firestone Fast 6 when we come back to the streets of Belle Isle.
This is IndyCar Radio. Find and follow us on Spotify.
At Firestone, we...
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks once again to Indy Radio for taking you through this session. And we are very nearly getting to the start time of the Firestone Fast 6. Of course, a little bit delayed due to everything that happened in Indy NXT. And your top 6 on the screen right now. Colton Herta was a 1 minute .456. Kyle Kirkwood 1 minute .523. David Malukas was a 1 minute .528. Lundgaard was a 1 minute .567. And Palo was a 1 minute .627. With Graham Rahal a 1 minute .695. Let's get ready to go down to pit road, and Scott McLaughlin, Jack Harvey.
It was okay. I caught Rasmussen right at the wrong time, so in that last push lap, so I think we missed by 100th or something like that. So it's tight in IndyCar. You can't afford to not leave yourself enough gap to get a run. But I think, you know, we maximised as much as we could, and yeah, that's where we are.
Thanks, buddy. Kevin? Will Power is over here, also missed out by, what, a 1/10 and a half or so. It's so tight. Can you even analyze what you need?
Woo! Oh, really? I mean, man, that was a good lap. I think I missed a bit in braking in 3 because the lap before I locked up, but I just needed to do it the lap before. That's when the tyre was at its best. 1/10 gets us through. That's, yeah, it's just been, it's IndyCar, man. It's so tight. If you just leave a little bit of something somewhere, you're not going to make it. Yeah, but not a big deal here. As you know, it's mayhem. I never, like, for that lap, I was like, that's only 9. I was like, my God, yeah.
Car's good enough tomorrow, and as he said, expect mayhem tomorrow in the race.
Power loves this place. Runs so well around this track.
Yeah, drama indeed here at Detroit. Such a tight circuit, such a unique circuit here at the streets of Detroit, as all wheels are off Malukas as he is getting ready for a new set of tyres, the Firestone Fast 6 here around the streets of Detroit. Of course, the only place we go to with a double-sided dual pit lane with pit boxes on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. And it is chaotic pit entry and definitely a chaotic pit exit where they have to have the spotters tell them where the cars are coming out on track, because the racing line goes straight through the pit exit and then straight in towards turn 1 as well. Looking at the number 10 of Alex Palou in his iconic yellow and red DHL livery car with the green alternate tyres strapped on his number 10. All cars lined up, just waiting for the green flag and the signal from the INDYCAR officials so they can get the Fast 6 underway. Just getting the confirmation once again of who's in the Fast 6. Herta, Kirkwood, Malukas, Lundgaard, Palou and Rahal. Timing's yet to update, so that means we are still a couple of minutes away. And timings have updated now. So let's go back to INDYCAR Radio to take you through the Firestone Fast 6 here on JB Motorsports.
Rahal, what he was able to do to get into the Fast 6.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, absolutely love it. He's been through some tough times. He's been really fast on the street and road course this year, so he's in that Fast 6. When you start there, you have a chance to win, so that's good news for Graham, and it's going to be exciting to see where he can go from here.
Man, pretty good run for Andretti Global with the 2 fastest cars in this session.
Yeah, they've been the 2 fastest in the practice sessions. They're the 2 fastest now. They're probably going to be, you know, a good opportunity to be on the front row this race.
I know that Kyle Kirkwood said there's not a lot of similarities between this and Long Beach, but clearly he prefers these street circuits.
Yeah, you know, he does, and I mean, this is a totally different street circuit, no question about it. But that's impressive. They're so good there.
Let's hear from Will Power.
Will Power will roll off 9th. Take us through this qualifying from your perspective. Do you feel like you got everything out of it?
It was, man, I mean, well, look, top 9's covered by 2 tenths. What do you do? It's just the smallest little tiny bits. So, yeah, I mean, that was, man, 1/10 gets me, you know, it's so tight. It was a very good lap. I think anyone in that top 9 did really good laps. It's just small margins.
How much variation in strategy do you expect we'll see tomorrow?
Good question. Well, we'll know more after warm-up. Yeah, that will be interesting. It will, yeah. I'm not sure. Got to look at it.
Looking forward to it, and we appreciate your time. That's Will Power.
Yeah, good stuff from Will Power, and talking about the significance of that morning warm-up session. And Davey, throughout the course of this season, talk to race strategists too, and we've heard it from drivers. A lot of times they don't know what the strategy is until the morning warm-up is finished.
They just don't know how long this alternate tire is going to last. Will said it right there, is that until you go to it, you just don't know how long it's going to last. Is this going to be the tire to choose from? We know there's a long race from IMSA this afternoon. There's a lot of rubber going to be put down. They still have a final warm-up tomorrow. They still have an Indy next race before them. So the more rubber down, I think the more opportunity for these Firestone alternates to hang on. But until they go do it, you never know.
Following that morning warm-up, which, by the way, takes the air at 9:30 Eastern, we'll have the Indy next race for you, flag-to-flag coverage. At 10:25 is when we'll take the air, and Nick Yeoman will be on the call for that one. And Nick Yeoman, as the green flag flies on this session, give us a preview of that race tomorrow. The usual suspects will be starting up front.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Final seconds of qualifying earlier today. Dennis Hauger snuck up and took the pole away from his teammate Lachie Lucky Hughes. Those have been the two major players. We've had 4 races so far this season. They've won all the races. They've scored all the poles. Hauger has the advantage with 3 race wins, Hughes with just 1, but Lucky's been unbelievably consistent, and that's why he is still within 15 points. Those 2 drivers will lead the field to the green flag. Again, got guys like Kyle Collette, Callum Hedge nipping at their heels, but really looking forward to it, Mark. Tomorrow morning, 45 laps for Indy Next by Firestone. They've had a couple wild practice sessions. These runoff areas here in Detroit got plenty of workout thanks to those Firestone tires on the Indy Next machines, but really looking forward to it. Indy Next by Firestone will get us started here tomorrow morning from the streets of Detroit.
Thought occurred to me, Davey, as I'm watching our monitor and see those cars clear Michael Young's view in turn number 1 and head toward 2. The way that goes uphill, is there a temptation there because you're going uphill to maybe get into that throttle a little deeper, but you have to be careful doing that because your grip could go away.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that is such a key thing here is that grip has to be there for these drivers. You cannot do any tire spinning. Turn 1 is one of the most difficult because it's so narrow and getting on power going up that hill. And then and really important, turn 2. That's a second gear corner. You have to keep momentum up going through that corner and just to get on that long straightaway. Colton Herta just goes 1 lap straight in.
And I think Kyle Kirkwood did the same thing.
Yeah, just out and in to put those on. It's a shorter session. They got 5 minutes and, well, basically 5 minutes left in the session to get it done.
So at the 5-minute mark, they came in, they went out, they turned a lap, and then they come back. Boy, look at him, really. That's Graham Rahal really wrestling that wheel. And Michael Young, a close call for Graham Rahal in turn 1.
He almost caught that front left on that inside retaining wall. He was able to hip check that car and get it to rotate out. But man alive, he was very, very close to not only hitting that wall, but ruining his chance of getting the pole here today.
And Davey, there's a couple of places around this track that normally when you clear a turn, that wall actually widens out. But there's a couple of spots where it narrows up on you once you clear it.
Turn 4 is one of them, and that's definitely one of them right there, as you just mentioned in turn 1.
David Malukas, we're watching him on the charts. Michael Young, he is in the Fast 6, trying to sit on pole for tomorrow's race.
One of the 3 interlopers that were not in the Fast 6 last year, Graham Rahal, and the machine of Christian Lundgaard. But for David Malukas, what a couple of weeks it has been. A runner-up finish at the Indianapolis 500, and now finds himself in the Firestone Fast 6 here on the streets of Detroit. David Malukas looking clean and green down Jefferson.
It's interesting because on Jefferson, just before you get to turn number 3, the crowning of the street forces everybody to kind of go ahead and get to the outside line, but then you've got to dive down to the inside line to be able to make that turn. Malukas does it without any issue whatsoever. Matter of fact, he had good speed at the exit of the turn, Mark.
It ain't that water runoff. Jake brings up a great point of how that crowning of the street could affect the handling of that race car.
Yeah, no question about it. Anytime, that's one thing with street courses, they crown for the water to run off and so forth. And we just watched real quick, Colton Herta kind of pulled out in front of Plo, slowed him down, and everybody's kind of getting backed out. But Colton Herta, with this extra set of alternate tires that Firestone's giving these teams, that allows some of these teams are choosing to go on and using that final set of sticker tires, not for the race, but this final round of qualifying. Colton's one of them doing that.
And we should make mention, one of the reasons why they may have that extra set is because nobody used any alternates in that session this morning after they used them yesterday. Well, we're seeing what Colton Herta could do out on the track, and his teammate Kyle Kirkwood. We'll also see Alex Palou. About 3 or 4 cars was a pretty good separation, Michael Young.
For Colton Herta, trying to get back-to-back poles here on the streets of Detroit. Good-looking first turn for him. Alex Palou will be a half a straightaway behind him. He will make that left-hander. Then it's Kyle Kirkwood. Those 3 were the 3 in the Fast 6 last year, trying to get themselves right in those first couple of rows this year as we see Colton Herta make his way to 3.
Everybody is trying now to make midnight strike on the Cinderella story of David Malukas winning pole here in Detroit. That's who provisionally is there. It is Colton Herta out through turn number 3. Palou looked like he was off throttle as he works his way now through turn number 3. So too for Kyle Kirkwood. So we'll see what happens here with this particular grouping. Last one to come through here is Christian Lundgaard as he works his way through.
2-minute mark. It's David Malukas, Graham Rahal, Alex Palou, Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, and Christian Lundgaard. And Davey, pretty good session right now for David Malukas. Pretty good weekend all in all.
Yeah, it really is. We'll see what Colton Herta. This will be his first lap on this thicker set of tires with a little bit of heat in him. Right now, he's not showing an improvement, but he's got a lot of racetrack to go to try to improve that time to get him in P1.
And we're looking at the car of Christian Lundgaard. He's coming off that final turn, headed toward the straightaway. Michael, pick up Christian Lundgaard, currently third in points.
Looking good, exiting turn number 9, makes his way down this front straightaway to the left-hander of turn number 1. So off of Franklin and on to Rivard. Christian Lundgaard gets into the throttle, then backs right out. It's just a short little sprint to that left-hander of Jefferson, but that bright orange machine, Arrow McLaren Chevrolet of Christian Lundgaard, trying to make his way up to that pole winning position.
A very, very solid season for Christian Lundgaard, but here in qualifying doing what the season would resemble. That is trailing behind Alex Palou, because Palou went through turn number 3. Now Lundgaard goes through. Now Graham Rahal.
Watching Colton Herta make that downhill run. He is heading toward that timing and scoring loop, and Colton Herta has gone to P2. Michael Young, he heads your way with a minute to go in the session.
He'll look good. Last time he actually had a little bit of bobble here in turn number 1. Much better this time through for Colton Herta. Again, trying to win back-to-back poles here on the streets of Detroit. Palou is right behind him, and then way behind is Kyle Kirkwood. Gapped himself a little bit, but for Colton Herta, clean and green streets as he heads down Jefferson.
So we are inside now the final minute of this Firestone Fast 6 with Colton Herta fast indeed, setting up turn number 3. Boy, he dives down very, very quickly. Good looking line for Colton Herta. Following now is Alex Palou. He's going to do the same, maybe just a little bit off throttle as he exits turn number 3. Followed now by Kyle Kirkwood. Kirkwood, very close line. Rear end steps out just a little bit. And then Christian Lundgaard comes through this area as well. That rev limiter pops just a bit. The last one to come through here will be Graham Rahal. Graham Rahal, who swept a weekend at Belle Isle, now sets sail on the streets of Detroit.
And Colton Herta has gone to P1, so Davey Will Powers said it as early as yesterday that as the run continues and the checker flag flies, the heat really builds up and the grip builds up later in the run on these alternates.
Yeah, sure does. He barely beats Malukas, but gets the job done. Right at the end, by the way, he was behind it to the last couple corners, and then he was able to shoot it there. Looks like it's going to be Colton Herta and Malukas on that front row. Kirkwood comes in third, then Lundgaard, Rahal, and Palou.
So again, your Fast 6, your pole sitter will be Colton Herta. David Malukas will start on the outside of the front row. Then Kyle Kirkwood. Christian Lundgaard will start 4th. Starting 5th will be Graham Rahal. And starting 6th will be Alex Palou. And what a run for Colton Herta. Wow. 15th career pole for Colton Herta.
Yeah, no, he gets it done. I mean, he's been doing this. He's very experienced. I mean, just, you know, I mean, he is fast, especially on street courses, especially in qualifying. He's got the best spot, hard to pass here, so he's got the best place to start.
You know, last year, let's see, a pretty good year for him in 2023. He finished 11th here, but had some struggles last year and finished 19th. But in 5 starts at Belle Isle, he had a 4th place finish in 2021.
Yeah, no, and he, like I say, he just needs to hold it all together, put the whole day together. He's been fast this entire weekend. He's been on top of the practice charts. He's been on top of, you know, qualifying before he got to here in the Fast 12, and now he's on top of, he's going to start on the pole tomorrow.
Yeah, pretty interesting front row with Colton Herta, David Malukas, Kyle Kirkwood, Christian Lundgaard. And I mean, you know, all in all, I know Marcus Ericsson's rolling off at 13th. He's a little disappointed in that, but bottom line is this. I mean, it's been a pretty good weekend so far for Andretti Global.
Yeah, really good weekend for them. And I mean, it's a matter of inches. It's crazy just how close everything is here. And as we talked about, I mean, he turned a minute 47, and Malukas was a minute 64, and then Kyle Kirkwood a minute 73. Very tight.
Let's hear from David Malukas.
David, it was close. Ultimately, though, P2. How good of a run is this for you and this AJ Foyt team?
Yeah, very happy. It was definitely a close ending there, but I think we made a mistake. We did a little tweak with the setup. I think we just overdid it on that end with track progression, and you know, having an extra lap just to get the brakes up to 10. We were debating on doing it. We didn't do it in the end, but little mistake there. I think we could have been there with the lap time and done a 4 as well, but overall, I mean, this is still huge for us and a very good session.
Great job. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
That's David Malukas. He'll start at the outside of the front row, Mark.
Yeah, Nolan Siegel will roll off 27th tomorrow. In row number 13, it'll be Connor Daly and Stingray Robb. Let's see, row number 12 will be Devlin DiFrancesco and Joseph Newgarden. In row 11, Santino Ferrucci and Robert Schwartzman. Row 10, Kiffin Simpson, Jacob Abel. Callum Eilert, Pato Award in row number 9. In row 8, Felix Rosenquist and Alexander Rossi. Marcus Ericsson, Louis Foster, row number 7. In row 6, Marcus Armstrong, Christian Rasmussen. Row 5 will be Will Power and Scott Dixon, Regis VK, Scott McLaughlin in row number 4. Row 3, Graham Rahal and Alex Pillow. In row number 2, Kyle Kirkwood, Christian Lundgaard. And starting second will be David Malukas, and on pole will be Colton Herta. And Davey, you heard Will Power say it. Joel Sebastianelli kind of stumped him earlier when we talked to him after his qualifying run. He says there's a lot of teams still with a lot of questions in terms of their strategy, and they won't be able to get those questions answered until we get to that final warm-up tomorrow.
Yeah, that final warm-up, it's going to tell everything, right, Mark? I mean, it's just going to be a situation. How long are those alternates going to last? Do you want to start with them? You're going to end up, you know you have to run them. Is it going to be early, late, or in the middle?
You a little surprised with the amount of grip they seem to find late in the session, given the ambient temperature never got above 60 degrees?
Yeah, well, I think just the sun, getting the track temperature up, I think, is the biggest deal. And as he said, getting brake temps up, so hard to do. You remember that long straightaway we keep talking about? Every time you go down there, it's cooling the brakes off. It's cooling the tires off. So it's hard to keep those temperatures up once you get them.
And let's hear from your pole sitter, Colton Herta.
Back-to-back pole winner here on the streets of Detroit, and the first time this season. Colton Herta, what did it take to get it done?
Great crew, great car. You know, there's a lot of ups and downs from us yesterday, a lot of unknowns with the pace of the race car. So really big shout out to the engineering group for turning it around for us and having a completely different race car today that we're able to do it.
And a completely different race car from last year, too. How much different is this lap with the hybrid?
It is quite a bit different, but you know, I think the feeling of the race car is pretty similar in qualifying trim. I think when we add all the fuel, you do feel the laziness a little bit, and you do get a little bit more of the feeling of the power from the boost. So, you know, I think it's a give and get situation.
Asked Will Power earlier, and he wasn't sure how much different strategy there would be tomorrow. Do you have an idea for how wide open this race may be?
I mean, 15 cautions in the last 2 years opens things up a lot. You know, and if you look at previous races this year of guys getting off the reds really fast, it makes huge windows, basically no windows for the rest of the race. So, you know, you can get caught by a caution, you can get lucky with a caution. It really opens things up. But from our perspective, we did the hard work here. We want it to be easy tomorrow, hopefully no cautions, and we can win that way.
Well, there's no better place to be right now than NTTP1, and that is where Colton Herta finds himself for the first time this season, back-to-back on the streets of Detroit.
Yeah, that's awesome, Joel. Good stuff and great insight from Colton. He gave us a little peek as to what their mindset is in terms of that race strategy.
Yeah, I sure did. Yeah, and you know what? It could change for everybody. It may even change for them after the practice, but more than likely, you know, they kind of have a direction already.
A couple of guys we're happy for in addition to Graham Rahal, this Christian Lundgaard and Nick Yeoman. He's third in points, and he wants to keep the good run that he's had for most of the season going, and he'll be able to do so from a good starting spot tomorrow.
Yeah, the remarkably consistent season continues for Christian Lundgaard as he is wrapping up some final thoughts with Brian Barnhart, who is on the pit box. But again, he's going to start fourth tomorrow. Christian, this really good season just continues. How good was the car in qualifying?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had a good car all weekend, and it was just really executing. I was a little frustrated in Q1, you know, being put behind cars that we know are slower, and they're just going to stack up, and that could, you know, potentially cost us going to fast 12, and that just ruins your weekend. So ultimately, we did the job. We're in the fast 6. We got fourth, kind of the best of the non-new tire runners, so pretty happy, but again, we got to be fast tomorrow. That's when it counts.
All right, well done, Christian Lundgaard. Mark, he just continues to find himself in the top 5 week in and week out.
Another one of those that I wouldn't be at all surprised to see to get to victory lane.
Yeah, you know, he's been knocking on the door, hasn't he? I mean, he's third in the championship for a reason, because he's been really, really consistent. We continue to talk about him, which is a good thing, because that's because he's always in that top 6, and really, it really kind of finishing off the runs and making sure that he's there at every checker flag in good position.
You know, it's interesting to note. I mean, I think everyone in that Arrow McLaren team would realize that last year was a difficult year with all the uncertainty with their driver roster and everything. But I'll tell you, Tony Kanata, I think, deserves a lot of credit for bringing stability to the IndyCar side of Arrow McLaren, and it has been a rock-solid year for them.
Yeah, you know, Tony, I mean, he's been doing this so long as a driver, and I think he just brings so much to it and just a different view of what the team really needed, and he's putting it into effect.
Let's hear from Kyle Kirkwood.
Third and all things considered, kind of had your hands full there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a messy qualifying from every point of view, I'm not going to lie. The first couple times I got sent out into traffic, and the timing was just off, and a bit of a mess down here in pit lane. Just not a lot of time when you're Group 2 and you got to go right into the Fast 12, so it always makes it very anxious for everybody. But Fast 6, we nailed it. Car was great. I think everything was perfect. I was up 4/10 going down into turn 3 on what the current pole is, and I threw it all away on the exit of 3 where I just barely tapped the wall. It was at the right angle to where it bent the toe link, and I just had to nurse the car to the finish line there. But yeah, disappointed in that. I've thrown away a lot of poles around this place, and that was another one here today.
One on the streets of Long Beach. Will have an opportunity to do it again tomorrow. Kyle Kirkwood, thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, good stuff, Joel. And, of course, Joel will put on his other hat now, go to work for WDIV here in Detroit, Local 4, and he'll have a complete recap, I'm sure, coming up on his show throughout the evening and a preview tomorrow morning before he rejoins us. Also happy to report that our Alex Wolf will join us from pit lane tomorrow. So going to be a very busy day for all of us here at IndyCar Radio. I want you to join us bright and early tomorrow morning at 9:30 Eastern for the IndyCar warm-up session at 10:25 flag-to-flag coverage of the Indy Next race. And then we'll take you at noon Eastern with pre-race festivities for the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear. The network director is Chris Pollock. On-site engineering and production courtesy of Rick Evans. Master control operations in our Indianapolis studios courtesy of Corbin Lingenfelter. I want to thank Nick Yeoman and Joel Sebastianelli for their insight from the pits. Great calls out on the course by Jake Query and Michael Young. For Davey Hamilton, this is Mark Janes saying so long for now from the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear.